This series started off very strong, but as we went along, we started getting more and more mixed and middling results. But I'm going to give you my thoughts and reactions on the final episode of the Pam and Tommy limited series for Hulu called Seattle, right after the jump. Hello, everyone. Terrence here with Hollywood Already Did It. If you haven't already, go ahead, like, share, subscribe to the channel, ring that bell below, leave a comment. Anytime we have something, you will be among the first to know. The eighth episode of Pam and Tommy is aired, called Seattle, and unfortunately for me, it takes the series out on a bit of a whimper. I think the strongest episodes of this season, this entire series, were those first three episodes, and then there's the Pamela in Wonderland episode, which kind of deals with the deposition, which is just it's a grimy feeling episode, but it succeeds in what it's trying to get you to feel. I think the back half of the series was having a hard time searching for what angle they were trying to take, and not having access to Pam or Tommy, and only getting stuff through the eyes of Rand left a bit on the back end, especially of this episode, Seattle, where they just didn't have information or things to go off of, and kind of the series feels like it comes to an abrupt halt. It feels like we speed along so much throughout this entire series to get to a point where we then spend like three episodes in basically a month or a month and a half time, and nothing really happens. We kind of just repeat ourselves and go over very similar themes and same messaging for those last three episodes. I feel like I said this one before, and I think someone else in the comments said that they probably could have been six episodes. I said five, but I think six in that range should be there, because these last three episodes could have definitely been combined to sort of be one episode to get to the point. But in this episode, Seattle, we get more of Pam and Tommy sort of dealing with the ramifications and the way that the world treats them around this sex tape. Motley Crue, we open with their coming out with a new album that is in '96 that's sort of reinventing their sound a little bit and getting some fans, but alienating the most of the ones that they've already had. And so Tommy is definitely trying to find himself, and has been adjusted from being the ending act for an MTV award show to the opening act to the pre-show where you're not even on the show. And he gets upset about that. What's interesting is that he gets really upset, and he's like, "Man, they're taking this away from him." And the reason he is not able to do the things that he wants to do is based on himself and basically what they as a band are doing and the way that the times are changing. Pamela, on the other hand, is being rejected from film after film after film. Um, and to some extent, they're saying that they enjoy her talent, but they just can't go around. They can't touch her with a 10-foot pole, because some of these things are family friendly. Some of these things, they don't want what comes with Pam and the sex tape allegations around it. So she's losing work because of that, while he's losing work because of actually things that he could, in fact, change. And it just shows that the two of them are going through similar things. While the tape is always in play for both of them, it is affecting Pam way more than it's affecting Tommy, which is a theme that we've gotten throughout the entire series. I don't know if we needed 8 episodes to do so. We got that after the first three. Um, but they keep hitting that home. Tommy is getting praised about his penis size at bars, which upsets him, and Pam can't go from day to day without being greatly affected. And so what we get is that we see her again losing jobs, and it just like this as a whole takes a fray on their relationship. Now, granted, we don't see any violence between the two of them in this, but we do see a pretty significant outbreak at like the setting and like the tables and whatnot around. So you can see that a violent streak exists in Tommy, and that eventually it is going to tear and turn towards Pam as we get in a little. I hate when shows do this, but we get a little post credit like, I'm going to tell you everything that exists in their lives after this point. But as much as this is sort of occurred and she can't find work, he's now on the tail end of his career or the back end of his career, they all believe that the tape is for the most part behind them. They lost the penthouse thing. There's nothing they can do about it. But for the most part, it has sort of reached the impetus that it's going to be. It's not going to get any bigger. But then you enter the gentleman that the startup tech, Seth Warshawski, I forgot how you say his name, Seth Warshawski or something like that. But Seth has an interaction earlier with Rand that they meet. He's talking about Cam. He's the Cam girl thing. And we see him at the post-credit sort of sequence at the end of the last episode. He is trying to figure out what's the next thing to do to sort of get more eyeballs on the Cam stuff, because those views are going down. And what he does is he just gives out the Pam and sex tape free online as sort of a promo for his site. He's not charging anybody for that. He's just putting that out there and letting everybody see it to bring in traffic so that they will then subscribe to the cam girl stuff. And so what was once sort of, and this is when the internet's just starting to blow up, but what was once a pretty much self-contained videotape, you had to have this, you had to kind of know someone. It was sort of like that black market thing. It is now going to level up, and the internet is just spreading it like wildfire. And Tommy and Pam get word of this, and they're like, crap, we need to file an injunction of this against this. And they do, much to the delight of Seth, who now knows, like, oh, I made it. Because in that injunction, he's given the results that what he's doing is not illegal, because he is using something that is already out there in space and just putting it out there for free. Because he is not charging, he is not doing anything illegal yet. So then he puts on a proposition to blackmail Pam and Tommy. And in that, he's saying, hey, sell me the rights to this, and I will put this behind a paywall so that you are no longer worried about the day-to-days. This isn't going to spread. Like, it's going to go from being a small thing that a couple people have to a very big thing if I don't put it behind a paywall. And Tommy's like, no, I'm not selling my rights to you after you. And Pam's like, let's just do it. But she doesn't. She wants to do it without actually taking any money for the rights. She's just like, I just want this to be done and be done as quietly as I possibly can. She just wants, there's so much strain on her as a mother. She is pregnant. There's so much strain on her career. She just wants this to go away as quietly as it possibly can. There's just too much on her, where Tommy's like, no, we got to fight for this. We got to do this. We need to get our money. We need, like, he doesn't want any parts of signing the rights over. Like, this is something that was private to us. And this sort of just probably is what, at least the show gives off the inclination that this is sort of what is the start to the split of them. We don't see their actual split on screen in this. It's all done off camera via the blurbs, and they come back together somewhere down the line, but it's just not meant for them to be together. But I think this is where that sort of break happened, because of just the way that this is affecting the two of them. And after some back and forth in a very, like I said, volatile situation at the very end, he eventually signs, because Pam she just wants nothing else to do with this. So she can go on with this in the back of her head. Yes, people are going to talk, people are going to point, they're going to always do that. But she can go on to be a mom and do the things that she actually gives a damn about. While all of this is happening, Rand is still here. And we're getting a Rand storyline where he starts to kind of feel a little bit bad about what he's done to Pam. But what's crazy is I don't think it's earned. Like, it feels like it's a cheap way to do it. He is still doing his booking stuff, and he goes to Butchie and kind of is like, yo, I can't do this anymore. This is tearing up my soul, which I don't care about. He can go and cry. His knuckles and hands are bloody because he's gone and gotten so much money from so many people. But I don't care. What he's done is terrible enough that I don't care what he's going through. So there's no emotional, for me as an audience member, no emotional connection to him. But he starts feeling bad because he goes to a tarot card reader, and the tarot card reader shows a naked woman by a body of water, which he puts together in his head to say, hey, this is Pamela by the boat. It all comes together. He's like, I need to make amends for her. He goes to the gate one time where Tommy and Pam are trying to leave, and it's like trying to say, I apologize through the car window, but there's so many paparazzis around that Pam doesn't see it. Tommy does, and he sort of speeds off and throws Rand off the car. Rand says, I apologize to you may not know, on Hollywood Walk of Fame, there are tons of people who are recreating actors. So you see a Batman, you see Spider-Man, you see that. Back then, you probably would have seen a CJ from Baywatch, and that's what you got. It was sort of a replication of Pamela, and he goes and apologizes to her. Still not the real thing, but it gives him some sort of solace in that. When he returns home, he sees that Seth is in his house, because Seth has gotten the rights and is ready to do this, but to do so, he needs a better copy. He's using a copy of a copy of a copy to put out there, but if he's going to start using a paywall, he needs to get that quality up, so he needs the original tape. Goes to Rand to ask for the original tape, and he's like, look, I'll give you $10,000. And Rand originally is like, no, I don't want this. I want to be a better person with my life. I apologize to I'm done with this. And then Seth brings up a dollar amount, which is the amount that he needs to get out from under Butchie, and doing all this grunt work. He takes the $10,000. He gets the tape for Seth. He takes $10,000. But instead of dropping it off to Butch, he then gives it to his ex, who he is racked up her phone call bills to reach out to Uncle Milty, and work the business. And then gives that money to her, and for the divorce, he finally signs the divorce papers and gives her sort of her freedom to go be her. And after a conversation they have a little bit earlier, where he's like, "These men are terrible, and I made a mistake, and I apologize to her." And she kind of sees a little bit of humanity in him, but that's his sort of comeuppance. But it feels so cheap. If it happened, cool. It may have. I don't care enough about him and his interaction with what actually the meat of what this is about Pam and Tommy. And so ending and giving him sort of that moment, and then the best that we get with Pam Tommy is that they have a fight. He breaks some stuff, and then she gets the tattoo on her finger. Instead of saying Tommy, switch to Mommy, and then we just go to a black screen where we get everything else sort of told to us instead of showed to us. Is it a good ending? It's an okay ending. It's not the worst. I've seen much more terrible endings to a series, but it is not fulfilling on what this short show brought us for the first 3 episodes. Because after around the fourth, fifth episode, we're then just starting to get repetition after repetition after repetition, and you're either in or out by that point in time. So nothing is sort of as new. I think this is a show that greatly, greatly has suffered from not having Pam and Tommy on board to sort of help out, clean up some of these other things, or see what happened in the moments that Rand is not about. Because they made this show, for the most part, off of Rand's retelling. And so the moments that we get past the stuff that we actually have video clips and audio clips of, it's hard to sort of recreate a show around that when you don't have that. So I don't think this show stuck the landing. I don't. I think this was a much stronger first half than the back half. And it wound up being a show that overall had a much better promise of what it was going to say and showing of what it was going to say, but not delivering in the telling of what it was going to say. I think the biggest premise of it all was that women in these type of situations, still to this day, women in these type of situations have a much harder road than men in these situations. I just don't think it took 8 episodes to get that point across. What did you guys think about the last episode and the series as a whole of Pam and Tommy? You'll leave your thoughts and comments in the comments below. If you haven't already, you can follow us on Twitter at HollywoodADI, or you can hit us up on email at HollywoodAlreadyDidIt@gmail.com. We also have the podcast with the same name that's on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere that plays podcasts, we're there. I didn't mention, I'm in a slightly different location. This isn't permanent, but I have a guest staying in the guest room, so I had to sort of relocate so that I'm not interrupting them. But I'm still going to be here to talk about this, Bel Air, and Snowfall this week. Ain't stopping me. And like always, I got my ticket. You got yours.